Okay, so if you see, we have again the same results being set. So again, we got the profile values and we got the user values. In the next two rows also, we got the exactly same values. Now, now we're going to see the last different concept. When we not pass any ID and we're trying to get values, or if we're trying to get a get instance methods, what are the results? Here, get instance without the ID. Modern user default. So I'm not going to pass any ID to it. So what I'm going to do is setting and dot get instance. That's all. And I'm going to see what is going to be my values. The last one. Okay, so what I have are set up the values. I have values for my user and I have values my profile also, and I have for a arg defaults, right? So now if I try to get a without any value, if I try to get an instance, or I would say if I what I use. So if I use a get instance or a get values also, both will be the same results. So default one. Get values. Okay, get values is not supported with the IDs. It looks incorrect signature type is not okay. Get values are not allowed with without ID. So only get instance only supported. What I mentioned here. Okay. Yep. Get instance only supported without passing any ID. Okay. Now all are here, right? Okay. You guys can hear me and you can see my screen, right? Okay. So here, now let's see. So what will happen if I use this? So whatever we discuss, so it has to give me this value. Why? Because even though I have org default, even though I have a profile, because I have a user setup, it has to return me the user value only, even though if I don't mention anything, if I give just a blank. So now let's execute and see what will be the last value. In our debugs, we need to look for a default ones. So default one, so what's saying my hierarchical settings. So user it's saying, and it returns some user value. And you can see it right, 2.91, which is for a user value only it returned. Okay, now what I will do was I will go ahead and change this value, or I'll change this record to a different user. Instead of my user, I'll give it to a different user, like a team user. Also we have one more user, right? So I'll give it to a team user. I saved it, and now if I try to execute, so what will happen? I'm the logged in user, but for user location value I don't have any value set up. So what it will do, it will go for a profile and see if it have any value, and it will return that. Okay, now I will execute the same part of it, execute last. Let's see what will happen now. If you look at this one, so I don't have any value here, user value, that's why it's coming blank. Now, what I have in the logged in user default, I got that 10.75, which is I set the value for a profile. Okay, so that is what it does. And even if I gave a user ID also, because I don't have any value to it, so what it does, it will take me a profile value only instead of, but if you take a value, it will only return the value of it. But when you give a get instance, when there is a no value set up for that, then again it will look for a profile, and then it will look for a arg defaults. Okay, so this one and this one both are same because both are using a get instance. Now let's move on. And in this profile, instead of this profile, because I set up for my profile, I will change this value to a different profile. That means when I change this one, I will even not having a user, and even I don't having a profile, I only have a arg default only. So let's try that out. So I saved it. So let's execute the same code, execute last. Let's see what will happen. So now values, because they don't have values, they are null. If you see here, this is a arg default what I'm getting 5.25, and this two instance also, because the profile value is not there, user value is not there, but still it is referring to the arg default values only. That's how a hierarchical settings will work. And you use a get instance one, and like some more details that is provided in this standard documentation. If you want, you can refer to this document for more more information and more methods. So that's all on a custom setting side. Now, if you have any questions, you can ask, or we can just move on to a custom metadata. Okay, the custom metadata is a new concept of a similar thing what we're doing in a custom setting. But if you see, only the drawback was we cannot deploy the code from a one org to other org using a custom settings. Even it's a hierarchical or a list setting, you cannot use them as part of a chain sets, and you cannot deploy them. We have to export and import the data. So to avoid that, so we had a concept of a custom metadata. Okay, one more point I want to add. Even though we can create and modify the custom settings data through the Apex code, also we can do that. A hierarchy list. Then we can modify or create new records from Apex core is possible. So if you want to create new records in the custom settings, you can do it from a Apex code. That is possible. Now, if you look at a custom metadata, we need additional SOQL to retrieve the data from a custom metadata. It's not like custom setting. You have a methods to extract the data. You have to write a SOQL query only to extract the data from a custom metadata only. The advantage here was the values or records of the custom metadata are deployable. That means you can deploy this data using a chain sets, and we cannot alter the data from an apex. So when I'm saying alter, it could be modifying the existing data or creating a new data. Create or modify. Modify the data of the custom metadata. It's not possible through the apex. And what else we have? So that's all at the top. So we don't have like two methods over there. We have only one concept called a custom metadata types. So it has called the master types. So here we will create like a one object and fields similar to that. Let's say I have project metadata or something. Now this name. The all Apex Core and Apex can use the type and visible in setup. Only Apex Core namespace have this one or packaged values. So you want to hide those values or not in a package. So I'm using a first value only. I don't have any packages or products. So it's done. So it will come with a two default fields called a label and a master label. So that's what the default fields. And then on top of it, we can create a new fields also. In the custom metadata, like what you have in the custom setting, you have all the values. On top of it, you'll be having a list value and a text area long also you having. So previously you have 10 and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. We have three more fields extra. That is a long text area, a pick list. Another one is a metadata relationship. Creates a relationship that links this custom metadata type to another metadata entity definition, entity particle, or a field definition to a domain determines the available values. So we can have a relation between a custom metadata types. So whereas in custom setting, we don't have a relation. It looks like a new one. Previously, we don't have this relation as well in a custom metadata type. So these are apart from the additionally from custom setting, we have three more fields called a pick list, text area long, and a custom metadata relationship. That's all we having additional. So let's say I need a checkbox. I'll call it as a active checkbox and then do next. Save and to give one more field. But I would like to have a pick list. Just giving a city here over here. Okay, that's all I have for now. Okay then. Now we have validation rule and page layouts also available. Whereas we don't have validation rule in a custom settings. So it's like a normal validation rule, how your custom objects you have. Similarly, while entering the data, the rules will fire the manage project metadata. So where you can add a new data to it. So apart from your custom fields, you see two more fields called a label and a metadata name. And this is a protected component when using a package and only have to use this one, otherwise no need to use that one. So let's say have something called a project one and is active and I'll just tell you a new one. Also, you can have values. And if you observe, once we have a data here, the name of this custom metadata ending with the underscore underscore MDT. The API name ends with the underscore underscore MDT. So that is one observation you'll be having, and you'll be having only SQL query to extract the data from a custom metadata. Oh, name, mask label, active words one. So let's give. So we'll be seeing all the values over here. Like a normal queries only, we'll be having for a custom metadata types also having the same. We don't have any methods over here. Wherever we need to use it, just we need to query and use like a normal objects. But the data type will be the name underscore underscore MDT. That's what a API name of the custom metadata types. You have to remember we cannot modify or alter the data in a Apex code for the custom metadata types. Okay, that's all on a custom metadata. If you have any questions, you can ask. We'll do, or we'll move on. Okay, we had a concept of labels. So why we need a label? But what are the business use cases to use a label, or what exactly it means? So label is nothing but we'll be storing some string values in the labels, and we will use this values somewhere in an Apex code. Let's say you write some you build some pages, or like you wrote some code in your Apex, like triggers, batches, anything that you had some code, and you feel some of the values are need to be a dynamic. uh, Today it could be like hi, tomorrow it may change to hello, or after some time it may be changed to a different greetings. Similarly, if you have something like any kind of a message, or like any kind of a signature, or like if any page, if you have certain validation, and if that validation fails, you want to show some error messages. But that error messages you want to configure. Today it could be one, tomorrow you want to change it to a different values. So, but when you want to change those, exactly just a message, but you don't have any logic change, but you only having change to that the header or a message, or any warning, or any kind of a page header, or any page label we have, or any of the a section name, such that. So if you have such naming where you want to make it dynamic in sense, if you want to change that value without touching a code. So you're using a code, right? So if you hard code it in a your Apex code, what you would deploy, and business want to change that message to a different message and ask you to change. So what will happen? Again, you have to go to your sandbox and make changes, and you have to make sure whether it's changed or not, and then you have to deploy the code. All this will be there. So instead of that, what are all the possible values that could be changed, or which needs change maybe in the future? Those things you can refer with the custom labels. So where are the custom label? What it does first, we'll be having some name and API names, and what actually the value that you want to display, that you will give here. It's a pure text only, nothing else it will be there, only pure text. So you will be giving some text value, and then you will be giving some short description and name and the categories, and this name what that you're going to use in your code. So when you use this name and the label name, so it will not display as a label. Instead of that, whatever the value that is exists in that label, the value will be displayed in your page or in your Apex code that will be referred. On top of it, you, you will be having a standard translations. So when you're having a multiple languages enabled in your org, okay, so if somebody not English, somebody from a Japanese or a user of this one, all the standard things will be taken care by Salesforce and they will translate it. But what are the pages that we built, like everything that you built will be like, let's say if you have a form, what will be having, we will be having some header, and if you have something like form, this one short description, name, and there will be, you will be giving some values, right? So you may hard code those. When you hardcore and if a different language user logged in, it will be still shown as a whatever the value that you give language, it will always be language only, whatever the language people are logged in, because you're hard coding those values. Instead of that, if you're using custom labels and if you add a translation, so what will happen was, instead of whatever the value that you give here, it will translate to whatever the translation that you added to your custom labels. So you can have a translations to your custom labels, and when you use that labels in your code, so you looks like your form itself translated to a different language. But actually, what we are doing, we're using custom labels and we are adding a translation to our custom labels. So the it could be used as a error messages, or it could be used as a um, labels or headers or page headers, warning messages, footers, headers, anywhere you can use the custom labels in your Apex code. Let's say I want to use some message. Let's say a validation rule I want to keep. Hmm, so I would say account, phone, account, phone, validation, phone, enter, phone with a proper value is what I would like to add the message, and is the an account object for phone field. I want to try a validation, and the short description is to I'd like to use the same name as this one. Complicate. So in the category, I would say account validations, or like account trigger validations. I would like to add this one. Okay, save. Okay, it has to be a without spaces. So on phone validation and save. Done. I have my custom label ready. So first of all, how I would like how I can access in my code. I'll just show you one simple code. So system dot debug. Here I like to see my label as system dot label dot highlighted. That is enter a phone or at a proper value. So you'll be having a API name of the API name of the label phone validation, then you're going to have here. Okay, I will add some notes over here. Custom label. Mm, we can use the it will hold the string values which can be accessible in Apex Visual Force page Lightning components. So I'm saying Lightning component, it will be both Aura components and a LWC components. Lightning components. Labels will support the language translations, and then what else we discussed? When we want to have any text in our code to be configurable without changing the code, we'll go with the custom labels. We use the labels when error messages, warning messages, page headers, field labels. I'm saying field. What's a form labels, messages, or paragraphs on a page. For any purpose, you can use the custom labels. So if it is an Apex, you will use like system data syntax while using an Apex. Now, if I want to use in a sorry, let me open some Visual Force pages. So I have some VF page. So, examples. Want the previous one. So here, let's say I don't have any thing here called page block and all, right? So let me add something called a page block over here. Apex page. Apex page block here. I like to use a title. I like to use here as a dollar label dot Mm, not sure exactly. Will dot. Just I'm using for now. It's working or not to check. Save it. Okay, so the syntax in a Visual Force page would be syntax while using an Visual Force page. It will be similar to it. In Lightning components also something a global variable and then label dot the value that's going to use. That's how we use in a components or a Visual Force pages. Okay, let's say I have something called student information page block title, right? So here I can go to a custom labels. So I would like to add a new label, and here student student information um, page title I would like to add. So in the file here, student form, just using. So category I would say it as a visual force visual force page. Mm, titles I would say. Title. Just going to use this as a name and save. And here instead of the phone validation, I'm going to use this one. Not saved it or saved. Okay, saved. The student form. Sorry. Now I have a code here. Now I change my mind. And I want to give a different name to it. I want to say a student basic form. So I not change any code in my Visual Force page or Apex. So if I look at here and if I refresh, so you have the new values. So that it's kind of a configurable. Whatever the label I want to keep, I can label. By using a custom label, I can change at any point of time without changing any code. So this custom labels are editable even in the production environment. Okay, that's all about custom labels. So we have few more topics left. Those are SOSL, test classes, and then dynamic schema and few of them. So can we connect tomorrow and close those few topics? Before that, if you have any questions on the custom labels or custom metadata or custom settings, you can ask, and then we'll move on to that one.